Welcome to Future Ready Live, where we talk about topics that will help CPAs, CGMAs, finance, and accounting pros prepare for change and transformation. I'm your host, Tom Hood, the EVP for Engagement and Growth at the AICPA SEMA. We're the largest association of professional accountants, CPAs, and CGMAs in the world. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of finance and a transformation journey from a major corporate CFO. So this is insights from the Future Finance Leadership Advisory Group, of which our guest, John Regan, he's the CPA Managing Director and CFO of Reinsurance Americas at Swiss Re America Holding Company. John, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Tom, how are you? Good to see
It's
you.
good to have you here, John. And John's been with us from the start, and we've done a couple of these types of sessions, but most recently at our last Future Finance Summit, we had about 80 large corporate CFOs, all of our colleagues and peers, and you did a special session on your transformation journey at Swiss Re. Can you kind of give us a Cliff Note version of that excellent presentation?
Sure. As much as I can do a cliff note, you stop me if I go too long. I've been with Swiss Re for about 8 years now, and pretty much from the start of my time at Swiss Re, we were undertaking an infrastructure change, converting all of our general ledgers over to a new platform, SAP. So that was the start of the journey in terms of what we were trying to do. We had envisioned getting all of reinsurance onto a single general ledger platform, and then ultimately a single subledger platform as well with SAP. We've now expanded that as a company to include our other business units, so it's not going to be just reinsurance, it'll be all of our business units. But part of that journey is not just the infrastructure. That's a big part of it, and that's a major commitment. It takes a huge amount of money to make this conversion on a global basis. And so in addition to having to look at this and do work from from an infrastructure standpoint, we also had to figure out, well, how are we going to help pay for this? And the next part of our transformation was taking a look at our operating model on a global basis and saying, if you can envision that we're on a single platform using the same general ledger, then we should be able to simplify our processes and therefore have consistent standardized processes for all of the regions. And so what we decided to do was to take a number of our positions that exist in each of the regions, high cost locations, and we moved a lot of those positions to Bangalore in India. And utilizing the lower cost nature of the workforce there. And for me, that represented about 45 individuals that we moved those positions to Bangalore. And it represents a pretty large savings when you add that up across all of the regions. And that's a part of how we pay for this major transformation. What we've quickly realized as we're going through that operating model change along with the infrastructure change is that we needed to have a vision for the type of worker that we needed in the future. And it was different than what we had working at the company at this time. And it wasn't that we were looking to get rid of people. It just meant that we needed to train them or upskill them to current technologies, utilizing a new operating model, so managing people differently than what we had. And that's been a big part of our transformation as well. So infrastructure, operating model, upskilling our people to prepare them for the future of finance, utilizing new technology across the board. So it's been an exciting journey so far.
Now, how close are you to the, I don't know if there's ever an endpoint, but how close are you to where you think you've got the first major thing accomplished?
So we've have a lot of it accomplished. So we're all on the same general ledger, and this is all business units. We've made the complete conversion from an operating model standpoint, and we've been operating under that model for several years. Where we are in the journey right now is that, and as you said, these things never seem to end. As we were moving along this journey, the company decided that we were going to convert from US GAAP to IFRS. and we're going to implement that by 2024. So we've kind of combined our subledger conversion with going live with IFRS in 2024. So to me, that's really the next major milestone, is that conversion effective 1/1 of 24.
Wow, that's incredible. So,
Yeah.
all right, now what really stuck out for me and the rest of the group when you were talking about your story is you had this great visual, a map of the bridge.
Yes.
And can you describe that a little bit? Like tell a little bit about how you guys saw that, how it came to be, and then I'll talk about some of the things that I see on that map, which I'm looking at right now, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and these maps, these visuals are very helpful for a variety of reasons. But roughly, what is shown on that is that we had started a journey, and when we did this most recent visual that you have in front of you, we had already done the conversion to of the general ledger onto SAP, and we said, okay, now that we're going to be converting to IFRS, how does that impact our journey here? So it was a bridge that, where have we come from, and where are we going, and what's in the future? But we also had a bit of an off ramp saying, okay, if you don't change along the way, um, you're going to have missed opportunities. You're going to have people that are not satisfied from a career development standpoint, and all the negatives of not going down and kind of completing this bridge, if you will. And so for people to visually see this, you basically see an on ramp, you see it kind of turning, and you see it going off into the future, but you also see some things if you don't go across that bridge.
I
So
love it.
it does help with kind of understand that this is a long journey, and it may be that you don't see the end of the bridge, because there's always going to be something more that you're building towards and developing for your people.
But how effective has that been in shaping the mindset of your people? Because that's another part that's come out of our work in the future finance group and research, that mindset is really, really important. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely, and I give all the credit to a previous CFO that we had at Swiss Re that had the vision for this, and then as a company we embraced it at the board level, had to get approval at that level, but creating that mindset for people and understanding that this is the direction that we're going. We're making a commitment to it. We see the benefits of it. We produce a lot of multi basis accounting, financial, and we're trying to incorporate that into what we're doing, which is why we ended up going with the subledger conversion as well. But creating that visual for people and creating that vision for them to understand what our end goal is, it allows them to compartmentalize what they need to get done today, but it allows them to see what you're going to be doing in the future. And it's not just in terms of what financials you're going to produce under what basis of accounting, but in terms of the skill sets that are going to be needed to allow you to accomplish and be successful in that environment.
So talk a little bit about that, because in just a couple of weeks we're going to be together at the CFO Leadership Conference in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
May 19th and 20th. And we're going to be talking about, we call it, and you've got that on this chart. Like I look at your pathway that says, what if we don't change? We call that the risk of not investing, right? RONI. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the skill sets and that notion about what you're trying to do with your team in terms of upskilling.
Sure. So a big part of these changes from an infrastructure standpoint means that you're going to be able to automate a lot of processes that previously were manual. So number one, that version of the work goes away, and what do you try to do in replacing that from a capacity standpoint? And what we've identified is that we want to be a bigger business partner. We want to be able to drive business decisions. And the best way to do that is by utilizing the data that we have access to. And finance has access to some of the best data that's out there in a company. And how do we create the analytics that go around that? There's a lot of wonderful tools out there, Power BI, amongst many others, that allows you to take that data, that information, and present it in a way that's very meaningful for the businesses that you're supporting, the CEO that we're supporting. You can determine what your KPIs are. You can drive the analytics around those KPIs. You give them access to this information in a format that everyone is seeing in the same way. It's one single source of truth because it's coming from finance and it's what we use to produce financials. So there's no manipulation of the numbers to for how people want to look at this, and that is very helpful for people because now they're seeing themselves taking information, being able to provide that to the business leaders, allowing those business leaders the ability to make decisions more quickly based on current information. So it's speeding up the time in which decisions can be made.
And being better storytellers, right, of the business value and the things that you're creating. It's
That's exactly right, and we've actually had to do training because finance people historically, I would not say are the best storytellers. They can certainly put spreadsheets together and present a lot of numbers, but what's the story behind that? And so that's another part of the upskilling that we've done has been able to take and put people through that training so that they can develop those skills and incorporate that along with the data analytics to be able to provide a very meaningful presentation.
it's incredible. I'm looking at your map here while I'm talking a little bit, but I see this one guy's like marching up this big arrow going up, and it says develop by asking the right questions. That's one big theme there, which is cool, right? This is what you're
Yep.
talking about.
Yep.
There's another one with it looks like it's a surfboard coming from a big wave of risk, and it says take more risk and co-own the business.
And that's another aspect that from a finance standpoint isn't traditional. I mean, finance is usually in the background, and what we're trying to depict with that in the picture that's in front of you is you need to commit yourself to this. You need to be a part of the business, not just having a seat at the table, but how do you drive this forward? And if you're given the right tools, if you're given the right information, and you're able to bring those two together with some storytelling, then you're putting yourself in a great position to be able to sit side by side with the business leaders, make the right decisions, and drive the company forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's two more that I have to say because I think this is like spot on with everything we've been talking about, the future finance thing, right?
Yep.
It's really everyone loved that because the story fits. One says, "This is what if we don't risk of not investing,
Mhm.
we will become a pure back office." Talk about what does that mean?
Yeah, and this is really regression from where we have come as a finance team. And what we talk when we talk about future of finance is how are we advancing our people? What is it that what is the career development that they're looking for? What are the skill sets that they need to be successful going forward? And that's what we're trying to emphasize there. If you don't, change is going on all around us. And if you want to sit there and wait for it to overcome and take you over, you're going to be left behind. You're not going to have the opportunity for the roles that you want. So you have to embrace it. Change is here to stay. It's the speed of change is happening at a quicker and quicker rate, more than ever with technology out there. So you have to embrace it and ride that wave. You have to be a part of it if you want to be a part of the future of finance.
Yeah, there's a great saying that I often use. I think it comes from I think he's a philosopher, John Kabat-Zinn, and it says, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf."
That's
I think
exactly
that's
right.
exactly
Yep.
what you're saying, right? We're
Yep.
not going to stop change or
Yep.
transformation, but if you start to learn how to ride that wave, you're going to be a lot better off.
Well, and that was one of our challenges too, is change management, because again, finance people can get very stuck from a traditional standpoint. And if you don't have a change management program that kind of embraces and encircles all the changes that you're developing and the new tools that you're providing, some people are going to get lost along the way. Change management is a very proactive communication. These are the things that we're anticipating. This is the timeline that we're expecting these things to happen. These are going to be some of the things that go away. These are the things that you need to embrace. If you have an active, proactive change management program supporting you as you're going through all of this, that was one of the things that was extremely helpful to us.
Yep, yep. And one last piece that's on there is that you guys had the notion of there's a guy underwater, I think, or at the bottom, and he's fishing, and the fish is not going after the bait, and it says missing out on business opportunities and innovation, right? So in other words, if finance can't be looking at the numbers ahead of time and being proactive, we're going to miss real value and opportunity. You're basically moving from a cost center to a profit center.
That's exactly right, and it's not not just as an individual career development, but it's really from a pure business standpoint, the ability for us to influence decisions. So if you can envision that you have a strategy as a business, you want to develop a certain area and growth in that area. If you have access to data along the way in a timely manner that is meaningful, analytical, and helps prove that either you're hitting your strategy or you're not, that gives you an ability to say, okay, if we're not hitting that strategy, let's pivot, let's change something, let's modify it, and that allow you to hit your growth goals. If you're hitting those goals along the way, that's great. Then you can change your focus and move on to something else so that it doesn't negatively impact your growth, but allows you to continue to do other things.
Exactly. So, all right, a couple more thoughts. What's been the hardest part of this journey for you?
Um, I would say that we really needed to invest in our change management. We didn't do that up front, and we realized that that had some negative impacts along the way, and in terms of people leaving, being disgruntled, that type of thing. So having the right change management program was very useful. Recognizing the need to upskill our people. You can have the greatest accountants in the world, but if they don't have these other skills that we've talked about here, then they're not going to be able to deliver on what you're trying to do. So the sooner you recognize that, and the sooner you can put something in place that allows you to do the right upskilling of people, the better off you're going to be. Because if you wait too long, you're going to have to go outside and hire people that have that skill set rather than being able to transform your people in addition to supplementing that with possibly outside people.
That's so there's a big preview of what we're going to talk about in Boston and right at the CFO conference.
Yep.
All right. Last part, talk about the notion of what's your experience been with this future finance initiative? Like what attracted you when we first started talking, and what would you say about what you've learned and what's going on?
Well, for me, I've been in the reinsurance business now for over 30 years, financial services and reinsurance. And you start to have this mindset that our industry, our business is so unique and so different than everyone else. And what I found by participating with the advisory group is I think I'm one of the only reinsurance companies that are in there, or one of the few. And all these other industries have the exact same problem. It literally does not matter if you're making widgets or if you're making cars or if you're selling reinsurance. The same issues in the finance department exists. The systems, the cost of transformation, the employees that you have, the upskilling of that talent. That's the one thing that is constant is your people. And how are you treating those people? How are you going to match up your vision for the business with the people that you have that are going to get you there? And so to me, that was the eye opener, is that every industry is dealing with the exact same issue. Every finance team is dealing with the exact same issues in terms of how they can drive and become stronger business partners, and stronger business sitting alongside those that are making the decisions and being a part of that. That's the transformation that we're looking for.
Yeah, it's been I like to say it's like we're all in the same storm. We might have different boats, but we're all facing the
That's
same
right.
basic, and it's all driven by, as we've seen, the kind of key issues: digital transformation, right? Upskilling, the need for new skill sets, all those things, and it's all been accelerated by the pandemic, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting the impact that the pandemic has had. It has accelerated a lot of things. On the one hand, when people were locked down and therefore we need to continue to work, the ability to quickly adjust to Zoom or to any of these other technologies that are out there, I really felt like we didn't skip a beat. And part of it was because of some of this work that we had done. So the ability to accept change and adapt along the way, and was just accelerated with the pandemic. The ability to access data and utilizing the data analytics, I feel like it took a huge leap in the last 2 years, and partly it was because we were trying to find ways to connect with people in a different way than what we have. You couldn't sit across the table from each other. So one of the things that we had done at Swiss Re, we created what we called tech cafes, technology cafes. It's kind of a grassroots effort. What are some of the technologies that you're using that help in pulling together your analytics? And so we had a meeting and someone presented something that they had done. 3 months later, then we had two or three other departments that came in and said, okay, we saw what they did. This is how we applied it to our department. And all of a sudden, you start to get 4 or 5 or 6 departments that are utilizing this technology to advance what they're doing. And not just a great, it was an experiment that worked out and is allowing us to push forward, that continues the change that is happening out there, but at an accelerated rate.
That's all. So that's the power of the collaboration curve, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
sometimes it used to be the experience curve is what really mattered a lot, but now I think it's the collaboration curve. It's like, and
I
it
would
can come
agree.
from any level. You could be a junior accountant could come in and say, "How about doing this?" And it could be a whole different game.
Absolutely. And some of the best tips and tools that we found came from our junior people. So it's exactly that. And I would agree with you. The collaboration curve is really where it's at.
That's pretty cool. That's what a great example. You've got, I mean, this is like full of good nuggets here for our audience out there. Let's see. Any words of, well, I guess you've given a whole lot of advice, but as we wrap up here, well, let me ask this. What's one of the major things that you took away from the Future Finance Group, in addition to seeing everybody going through the same battle? But is there
Mhm.
anything that specifically like you caught that you went, wow, that really helped us, or I did this, or
Yeah, I think a common theme or a common experience that I've felt from the other CFOs that we've talked with is that um, people are willing to initiate things now. Whether it's upscaling of people, putting the investment in there, they don't want to wait. They don't want to anticipate that in 3 years that we can do this. They're taking it and saying we need to start this now. And I would just emphasize that if you're waiting, you're going to miss out. This wave is going to just pass you over. So uh, get on board, have that vision, have the confidence to move forward, and believe me, it's gonna catch on, and it's gonna drive the business forward in a very positive way.
you're what? Wow, that's all. I mean, that's amazing because when we wrapped up, actually, it was Nashville. When we were out in Nashville, the wrap up there was it felt like everyone said this is a defining moment for finance and accounting. We
Hmm.
we have to seize this moment and not go back to the way we were. To your point, we have to embrace this new move to a value partner. And I think we coined it like the chief future officer. I think that's what
Yeah,
we're moving to, right? As
yeah.
CFO. So, John, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for joining us. There's tons of takeaways here. You guys might have to, they might have to, the good thing is they can listen to it in slow motion so they can write down notes on all the things you were talking about. Um, so John's on our Future Finance Leadership Advisory Group. We're going to be in Boston together at the CFO Leadership Conference on May 18th and 19th. Or is that 19th and 20th?
19th and 20th, I believe.
Thank you. 19th and 20th.
Uh,
Hashtag CFOLC if you want to find it on LinkedIn or whatever. And then the other part is you can connect to John on LinkedIn, John Regan, Regan. You want to hook up with him. And the CFO leadership, if you go to CFOleadershipcouncil.com, you can get to the look up their conference and get the agenda for that. I want to close with don't miss our other Future Ready Live sessions back here on LinkedIn, the first and third Tuesday of the month at noon Eastern. And again, John, thank you for an amazing, it's been awesome working with you through these, I guess almost 10 months now.
yeah, it's been great, Tom. I appreciate the opportunity and certainly the leadership that you provide and the advisory team. It's been a great experience for me.
Well, we're going to keep doing it. Thank you.
All right, great.